Hello everybody and welcome to another One Piece review here on the channel. In this episode, I'm going to be covering the Syrup Village arc. I already covered some of this a little bit vaguely in my first One Piece review, but I've decided I'm going to go arc by arc continuing on, so now I'm going to be recovering some ground, but also kind of finishing off the storyline. It's a fun way to approach One Piece, cause there ain't no way I'm going to be able to review each individual volume. But this means I'm actually going to be doing some more detailed reviews here and getting into my thoughts on the actual, events of the narrative, which will be more fun. Vague spoilers, I'm not going to get super detailed, judge for yourself. This has been out for a long time. I think it goes into that. It's okay to talk about territory, but let's go ahead and talk about my current feelings with One Piece. Now, in my last video, I basically just made it to go ahead and dispel the idea that it takes time to actually start enjoying One Piece, because I started enjoying it kind of right away. It's absurdism and pirates. How can you not like that, immediately? So much fun. And the humor worked with me. But as I'm getting further into the series, I think the strongest element of One Piece is without question the chemistry between the cast. And I know that to be true because as I'm getting to know Zoro, Luffy, and Nami, I know I got Luffy right this time. I'm having this gut instinct of anyone else who's going to join, I'm gonna be like, ha ha ha, no! You are not in the original three. It is the triumvirate, and I'm loyal to them. And I know eventually I'll come to like the new characters as they add them, and then feel that way to the people added after them, but that's just a really good sign that you're building a well-rounded cast. And the way these three all kind of counterbalance each other just works really well, so I'm nervous having any other elements introduced to this so far scaled out chemistry. You have Luffy, who is chaos incarnate. I stand by my assertion in my first One Piece review that he is essentially a force of nature. Then you have Zoro, who's kind of like this super serious, darker character with a sword in his mouth. And then you have Nami, who is like a kind of balance between the two. She's very well realized, and I do see some of the cliches and tropes of manga of over-sexualizing and over-busting women, but I still really think she has a lot of depth to her, enough to stand up to these two who have a crazy amount of character. And the first story that happens here that is tied into the wider Syrup arc that's a bit disconnected is them going to an island that's kind of just populated by special animals and a guy in a chest. And I of course thought oh, this is gonna be a new addition to the crew. He turned out not to be, but just leaning into the full absurdism of the show, yes, there's a pirate stuck in a treasure chest, and I would die for him. Gaiman is amazing, and he has to be a fan favorite, right? There's no way this guy is not loved. I love him. He's kind of weird and not the best, but the fact that they're offering him a way out, and at the end of his story, he's like, no, I must stay with my animal friends. People. I was like, I get you, dog. I like you a lot. That's just a character. I don't know if he appears again. I hope he does. He's a lot of fun. But that's just a character immediately. I was like, this is one of the beauties and strengths of One Piece. Whatever works and fits the world, and it blended in really nicely to the world building as a whole. There's obvious conveniences in the world. This seems to be the smallest world ever, and with the rate people are recognizing each other from loose connections. But at the same time, again, it's absurdist, so it's not gonna bother you. If it is, you're not really getting the point of this material. And the crazy, strange characters that are crafted are just so enjoyable. And this brings us into the actual story for the Syrup Village town. So Usopp, whatever his name is, I don't like him as much as the original three. Maybe I will eventually, but this kind of arc acts as a way for us to get to know him and eventually have him graduate to being invited into the crew. And fine, he's whatever. But I like the story that plays out throughout this village. It's a bit of a told tale before, where we have this guy constantly saying there's a pirate issue, there isn't, and then there really is, with this villain who's a supposedly dead pirate who's not, he's just kind of hiding out, and this crew showing up. I liked that. I also really liked the conflict and the action that happened in the showdown between Luffy and Zoro and all these evil pirates who are it's weird to say evil pirates, because pirates in the pirates are evil, but there's the Straw Hat Pirates, who it's you're pirates, but You're not bad guys. And then there's the bad guy pirates. Luffy is taken out for plot convenience to, I think, just let Zoro shine as a character in action and let him have a moment. And I really enjoyed that. There's this like narrative thing where it's like, oh, his swords are taken from him. He only has one now. How will he fight better? But in my head, I'm like, yeah, now you don't have a sword in your mouth. You should be better off now that you don't have a blade near your face. But okay, in the logic of this absurdist world, sure. And Nami basically screwing over Zoro at one point just showed like there needs to be developed chemistry still. Like these all need to learn to work together better. And I like that. They don't just all naturally slide into place. The whole team dynamic is growing, and that's just favorable. Like I like to see that this anime is not just gonna let everyone work together flawlessly. It allows room for growth for the whole Straw Hat crew as individuals and as that team. Love it. But there's this issue where as soon as Luffy wakes up, and I like this little hypnotizing thing that was happening with him, like that was fun to have him stronger, asleep, awake. The way he was woken up was also funny. But this, having him once he's around, I see this issue where he's a little too powerful. Like Luffy, I'm not aware of whatever could really hurt him at this point. So as soon as he enters combat, I'm having a little bit of like, what could really go wrong? He's the ultimate rubber, like he could kick Mr. Fantastic's ass from what I'm seeing. Like he gets shot in the face and he's like, nice, that's cool, it's fine. You shoot me in the face all day, that's no big deal. So it inevitably leaves me like, where are the stakes? But this isn't the type of narrative where I'm really caring about like wondering if the characters are gonna die because they're clearly not. Like that's just not a concern I have. I mean, not only because there's what, like 1,000 chapters out there now, but just the addition of like, you know, they're not going to. I do want to throw in here the two brothers that Zoro were fighting. It was kind of like, Zoro, you're a super badass, right? You should be handling these guys a lot easier. I get that he's like, I don't have all 3 swords, but like, this doesn't feel like it should be the threat it's being made out to be. I like the Hypno guy a lot better. He was more Jarek, whatever. I liked him a lot more. He was kind of actually like an interesting threat because he had like this alternative way to hit. And I'm just not very afraid of anyone who attacks any kind of traditional sense against the crew because Zoro is awesome and Luffy's essentially impossible to hurt with traditional means, so it's just like, yeah, okay, they're there. But there's this other guy who's kind of interesting. But yeah, the villains definitely are lackluster here. And I don't know if these villains are going to come back and play a role again, but it also doesn't just completely wipe away everyone who they came in conflict with. So I enjoy the fact that this series is not having villain of the week. They are potentially setting up reoccurring villains, something I always prefer. And for other shows that and for other stories I've had criticisms of, that's been an issue. I think Korra, for a total left turn, would have been a better show if from season 1 they had built up a villain to be a threat throughout the entire story. Instead, they kind of just did like a villain of the season, and I don't like that as much. I'm hoping One Piece doesn't follow that formula, and they are going to have reoccurring enemies who become larger threats. There already are some things set up for that, but I don't just want like one main one. I want a lot of arcs that span throughout, especially with this many chapters ahead of me. So overall, I'm feeling as strong for One Piece now as I did pretty much for the first volumes I got into. It's a blast. I still don't know why people were telling me I would need like a lot of time to get into it. Completely disagree. Like I've been enjoying One Piece pretty much since like the get-go because I just kind of had the proper expectations set up. So if I had any advice for the fan base at this point with my extraordinarily novice sitting, don't stop saying it takes a minute. It really doesn't. Just instead set up expectations for what exactly One Piece is properly. I don't see why people wouldn't enjoy this. It's fun, low stakes, absurdist, smart action adventure with pirates. What's not to like there? Especially with the characters that feel so personality frothing. That was bad word choice, but I stand by it. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think of the Syrup Village arc for One Piece in the comments down below. Like and subscribe if you have not already. Hit the Patreon if you like to support what I do here. Have a good one, y'all. Peace. And of course, I'd like to record a special shout out to my latest high tier Patreon, Billy Aleri.